Hello my fashion lovers, welcome to today's tutorial. Please, if you have not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. Click on the link button on notification bell to be notified anytime I post a new video. Thank you for watching my videos, for commenting, and for subscribing. On today's tutorial, I'll be giving you 6 solutions for a proper pants fitting. That is your trouser pants fitting and your palazzo. The 6 solutions for proper palazzo and pants fittings. Sometimes when we cut our trouser, our pants, we find out that we have a lot of issues with it. Sometimes the trouser will not fit. Sometimes it will have where the middle is supposed to be, it won't be there. It will go into the side, and the side will be going to the middle. On this tutorial, I'll be giving you 6 solutions to having a proper palazzo or your pants fittings. And let's take the first solution. The first solution to have a proper fitting. The first solution to having a proper fitting is taking your hip measurements or your waist measurements. Let's mark out the starting point. Let's take this to be our starting point. Let's take this to be our starting point. And you want to mark usually this is where your waist measurement is supposed to be. But instead of taking your waist measurement on this line, you're going to place your hip measurement on this line. That is the first solution to having a proper pants fitting or your palazzo fitting. On this waistline, you're going to impute your hip measurement on this line, not your waist measurement. Let's say that the waist measurement, the hip measurement I'm working with is 40. When I divide it by 4, it's going to give me 10. Then on this waist line, I'm going to impute my hip measurement. Can you see that? Can you see that? Impute your hip measurement on the waist measurement. And also we have another reason why you might have a bad fitting on your pants, which is the crouch length. Which is your crouch length. We have taken this to be our waist measurement, and also you come down by 9 for your hip measurements. And for the hip we are working with, we are still working with hip 40. When you divide it by 4 to give us 10. So another reason why your pants will have a bad fitting is your crouch length. Your crouch length. And when you're joining your waist and your hip, please always join on a straight line. Your crouch length should be on a straight line. Your crouch length from your waist to your hip should be on a straight line. And now, what is the formula for getting our crouch? What is the formula for getting our crouch? We have a lot of formulas for getting our crouch length. But the best formula is for you to measure your clients. The best formula is for you to measure your clients. And for the crouch, you can use your hip divided by 4, your hip divided by 4. That is for the length. Your hip divided by 4. If you're making a palazzo, you can add 2 to your length because you wouldn't want it to be too fitted at the crouch area. But if you're making your pants, you divide your hip by 4 to get the length of the crouch. But you can also measure your client to get a perfect fitting. And to get a perfect crouch length, make sure you measure from where the person puts her trouser. Make sure you ask your client where she puts her trouser to be able to get the perfect crouch, to avoid having any bad fitting. Because once the length of your crouch is wrong, you are going to have a bad fitting when making your trouser. Like I said, the hip I'm working with is 40, and I told you the formula for getting your crouch is your hip divided by 4. So hip 40 divided by 4 will give me 10. So that will be the length of the crouch. And it should be on a straight line. This line should be, your crouch length should be on a straight line. Can you see? On a straight line. Some people, they will measure the waist, then have something like a curve here. It's not supposed to be. Make sure you have a straight line here to avoid bad fittings. And also, your crouch, if you're making a palazzo pant, you can add 2 inches. You can add 2 inches to the length of your crouch. You can add 2 inches to it because you wouldn't want it to be too tight when making your palazzo. Another solution to palazzo or pants bad fittings is your crouch extension. What should you use for your crouch extension? Some people, they use hip divided by 4. Their hip, for the crouch extension, they use hip divided by 4. And they divide it again by 4. Your hip divided by 4, that is, if your hip is 40, you divide it by 4, it will give you 10. Then you divide that 10 again by 4 to get the extension of this crouch curve. To get the extension, your crouch extension. Some people, they use hip divided by 20. Some people, they use hip divided by 20 to get their crouch extension. Why some people, they impute their thigh measurements to get the crouch extension. Some people use hip divided by 40, while some people use hip divided by 4 and they divide it again by 4. And some people use their thigh measurement. They impute their thigh measurement on the crouch. But bear in mind that for hip that is above 40, if your hip is from 40 upwards, know that your crouch extension should be 2.5 or 3 inches. It should not be below that. If your hip is 40 and above, make sure that your crouch extension should be 2.5, 2.5 or 3 inches. But you have a hip that is less than 36, you can use 2 or 2 1/4 for your crouch extension. So coming to here, the hip measurement I'm working with is coming to here. If I divide the hip I'm working with, the hip I'm working with is 20. The hip I'm working with is 40. When I divide it by 4, it's going to give me 10. If I divide 10 by 4, it's going to give me 2.5. It's going to give me 2.5. So this is where the brush extension is. And the time measurement I'm working with is 24. If you want to use a time measurement, the time measurement I'm working with is 24. If I divide it by 2, it will give me 12. And can you see? It's still what I have here. It's still almost the same as dividing my hip by 4, divide it again by 4. And another thing, another solution to, I'm going to extend this line. Another solution is this. When you want to connect the curve to this line, do not use a deep curve. Do not deepen the curve because it's going to give you a bad fitting. Do not use a deep curve to connect it. Can you see what I'm doing? Do not use a deep curve to connect it. You can come up here by 1 inch. You can take 1 inch from here and connect and come out here by, you can come out here by a 1/4 inch and connect. Do not have a deep curve here to avoid bad fittings. Your crash curve should not be very deep. It should not be very deep because when you deepen it too much, you're going to have a bad fitting of your pants. So what you're going to do is just to give it a little curve. A little curve. Don't deepen it, just a little curve. You follow the line, give it a little curve. Just give it a little curve. Do not try to deepen it, like use the deepest to deepen it your curve. It should be a little curve, not a deep curve. Can you see it? It should be a little curve, not a deep curve, because when you do it, you're going to have issues with your bands. And another thing that can give you a bad fitting is when you don't get the middle of your crouch. If you don't get the middle and connect this down, it's going to give you a bad fitting. If you just connect it straight without getting, so that the hemline, you know what you're marking at the hemline, you're going to get the midpoint of this crouch. Make sure you get the midpoint. My focus is not on drafting trousers, but giving you hints that you have to adhere to. When you follow these points, see what I have here. What I have here is 13. Can you see? Then you have to find the middle. The middle will be 6.5. The middle is 6.5. So make sure you put you're going to mark a straight line from here down. This will serve as a guide when making your trouser. If you don't put this line and you go ahead to impute your thigh measurement, your knee measurement, and your ankle measurement, you're going to run into problem doing this. Make sure you have this line so that you can be able to know what you are marking. Make sure you put this line. It will help you measure what you have on your crouch, then get a straight line width to avoid having back fittings on your trouser. Another reason why you might have a bad fitting is connecting from here down to your hemline. Connecting from this place down to your hemline. You should not connect this side to your hemline with a deep curve. Avoid the use of deep curves when you're making your pants or your palazzos. Avoid the use of deep curves when you are making your trousers. You are going to impute your knee measurement. Impute your knee measurement. If your knee measurement is 18, when you divide it by 2, it's going to give you 9. So you are going to share it into 2. Share it into 2. It's 1 will be here. Share it into 2. And what I have here is 9. When you share it into 2, and when you're connecting from here to your knee line, from here to here, that is your knee line, should come with a slight curve. Do not deepen it. Do not dip it. It should come with a slight curve. Then the others can go with a straight line. From your crotch to your knee should come with a light curve. Do not attempt to deepen it. Just a light curve. Just a light curve. Or you make use of you can make use of your trouser curve, but do not try to deepen it. Can you see what I'm doing? You're using a light curve. Do not try to deepen it like you want to give it a shape. Do not do this, please. Do not do this. This is wrong. Do not deepen it. This is wrong. Do not deepen it. Connect it with a slight curve down to your hem, to your ankle line. Down to your ankle line. And from here, you can take a straight line after you have taken your ankle. Let's assume that the ankle I'm working with is 10 or 12. When you divide it by 2 to give you 6, so you're going to impute 3 here and also impute 3 here. So what I have here is 6. Can you see it? So you're going to, from here, put a straight line from here. Do not try to curve. Do not try to curve. Deep curve. Avoid the use of deep curves because it's going to give you a bad fitting when you make use of deep curves. And another thing you should bear in mind when you're making a trouser or a pant for a smaller person with a hip of 36, you can cut the front and the back the same. But when you're making for a big person from 40 up, knowing that our back and front are not the same, you're going to increase the back part with 2 inches because our front part is smaller than the back part. So we're going to increase the back part with 2 inches to accommodate the butt. I hope I've been clear with these solutions to making a fitted pant or palazzo. Please, if you have any question, ask in the comment section. The most important thing is for you to avoid the use of deep curves when you are making your pants. Avoid the use of deep curves when you are making your pants. Just a light curve is okay. If you have any question, please ask in the comment section. Click on the notification bell to be notified anytime I post a new video. Like, subscribe to my video. Thank you very much.